Zettel für die lange Weg. 2 Flaschen Whisky für die Zeit. Und ich date gern habe, du bist dabei. Maria geht, fahrt mal weg, ist weit. Wann ich geh, ich werd dir fehlen, wann ich geh. Du sehst nicht, was ich mach, du sehst nicht, wie ich lach. Ich werd dir fehlen, du watsch sehen. Hab kriegt mein Zettel für den langen Weg. Du scheinst da, als mir finden kann. Es hat Maria und Dale ganz wunderbar. Als ich dir den weißen Dank. Wann ich geh, ich werd dir fehlen, wann ich geh. Du sehst nicht, was ich mach, du sehst nicht, wie ich lach. Ich werd dir fehlen, du watsch sehen. Well, Gouda Ovid, leave a light. Good evening, dear friends, and welcome back to another episode of PA Dutch Live. Can you believe we are in April and the month is almost at the door already? In a week, it'll be May. I don't know where this time is flying, but it's flying. That's all I can say. I'm glad that you are joining us. I see that we got 20 people currently watching. I'm sure that number is going to crawl up as the broadcast goes along. Please don't forget that at any time we got comments and I can see your comments in real time. Please join the conversation tonight. Let me know first off, where are you watching from this evening? I'll tell you right now, I'm in the basement of my home in Howard, Pennsylvania in Center County. We had some snowflakes flying in the air today. I was not ready for that, but they're calling for 70s next week. April in Pennsylvania is always a roller coaster, isn't it? But I noticed, and we'll highlight some people here who we got. We got people watching already from the Niederrhein, from the lower Rhine Valley. That's wonderful. We have Joanne. Hey, Joanne, thanks for joining us tonight. Our good friend Norman Jung, he joins us every month. He's coming to us from Alderland across the ocean over there in Germany. Great to have him with us. We got some people down south, Wilmington, North Carolina. Thanks for joining us tonight, Chris. Matt Pinella, that's a former German student of mine from University Park, Penn State, proud student there. We are... I guess in Pennsylvania Dutch, we'd say mir sind Penn State, gal. Well, we got Klausville, Pennsylvania, Joanne joining us. We got Philly, but an original Berks County girl, Brigitte, welcome. We have Holly Lawton. She's coming to us all the way from across the pond in England. I know that. And oh dear, look at our good friend Carol Diefenbach. I knew she would be here tonight, Miss Cantner, joining us from the metropolis of Burnville, Pennsylvania. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other people joining us tonight. But as you join, of course, let us know where you're watching us from. That makes me feel good that these wires and cables stretched all over the place are reaching from my basement to your home or wherever you might be. Tonight, we have a great show planned. My dear friend and distant relative, Pennsylvania Dutch folk artist Rachel Yoder, will be joining us for conversations about Pennsylvania Dutch folk art, since that's what she does. We'll be looking at some of her art. She'll be talking to us about what that means to her and why she does what she does. It's going to be an awesome conversation. Anytime I get the opportunity to sit down with Rachel, whether it's in face to face or Zoom or whatever, is always a fun time. Brings a smile to my face. So I'm looking forward to talking to her, and I'm sure you will appreciate and enjoy the conversation as well. Lots to learn. Kempton, Pennsylvania. Karen Freeman, let me tell you a story. When I was playing Little League Baseball for the Mooresville Pirates in northern Berks County, we played Kempton, and every time we went to Kempton, we lost because those Kempton boys, well, they just growing bigger up there in that part of the county. So I don't know what's in the water up there in that in the Dycheck up there in Kempton, but thanks for joining us. We got Ohio. We got Wayne County, Ohio. That's a big region for Pennsylvania Dutch speakers. We got Tom joining us. Hey, Tom. We got Lancaster County well represented with Elizabethtown. Thanks for joining us, Kathy. And holy cow, we're going out to the Rockies. Joe is joining us from Lafayette, Colorado. Thanks for joining us. It's so great to see people from all over the place joining us tonight. So I already told you about our special guest. What I usually do at this point in every month is kind of give you guys an update on some things coming up. As you know, COVID, of course, is still out there, although more and more of us are getting the Fauci ouchie, as some people are referring it to. My wife and I were lucky enough to get our jab back in March, so I am hopefully good to go at the Johnson & Johnson. So I feel a little bit safer going out and doing things more than what we were before. And slowly some Pennsylvania Dutch events are coming back. And I'd like to share just a couple with everybody so you can mark your calendars. Let me share my screen real quick. What do we have coming up? Well, I know for a fact. Let me share this first one. Mark your calendars for Saturday, May 1st. The Schwenkfelder Group, which is, if you're not familiar with them, why you gotta find and look them up a little bit. They have a very strong presence on social media, but they are having a spring Fling special retail event on Saturday, May 1st. Local craftspeople joining us, specials in our gift shop. So just come on out. There's going to be a rummage sale. Well, you know darn well that's going to be a good time. And all kinds of wonderful things, they say, from vintage costume jewelry to holiday decor, quilting supplies, home accessories at bargain prices. So take a stop down at the Schwenkfelder Group. You can find them on Facebook, of course, and on the internet. Just look for the Schwenkfelders. So that's on May 1st, but that's not the only thing we got coming up. I also would like to share two more events that are happening here in the very near future. This one's very exciting. We have a very strong tradition among the Pennsylvania Dutch to have Pennsylvania Dutch language church services. Now, 2020 was pretty rough for that, and a lot of the services sadly got canceled, but rightly so. But the first one that I'm aware of happening here in 2021 is coming up on the 16th of May, on Sunday, the 16th of May. Please mark your calendars at 2:30 p.m., and that will be at Zor Lutheran Church in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, there at 560 Freeport Road in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. And the sermon will be given by Mr. Caleb Franks. Well, that's an interesting choice because he's one that we don't hear very often from. So I'm looking very forward. Hopefully I'll be able to attend. Not sure yet, but if not, I'm hoping someone will live stream it maybe. But if you're in the greater Lebanon area on the 16th of May, well, you know where you need to be. You got to have your butt in the pew at Zor Lutheran Church and enjoy a fellowship and a good afternoon of everything Pennsylvania Dutch. And that's what we love. And I have one other event to share with all of you, and that is, I just learned about this today, the Kutztown Area Historical Society in one of our favorite places in the world, Kutztown, Pennsylvania, will be having their arts and crafts show on May 22nd. That's a Saturday. Of course, that'll probably be outside, so not in a small enclosed space, weather permitting, of course. But you can check out more about this event, too, and there'll be Pennsylvania Dutch stuff there for sure. Food, I'm sure, will be in plenty. You can get yourself a piece of shoe fly pie probably, and maybe some other wonderful things at the Kutztown Area Historical Society Arts and Crafts Show on Saturday, May 22nd. Mark your calendars, people. Support these events. We don't have a lot of a lot of events to support right now. So the ones that we do have, if you feel safe traveling out in and about, take advantage of these opportunities. We got the Pennsylvania Dutch Church service coming up on the 16th of May. We have the Schwenkfelders and the Kutztown Area Historical Society. Of course, sadly, we do know, and we talked about this last month, the Kutztown Folk Festival will be staying virtual this year. I don't have any other information to share with you at this point, but as I get information from that group, of course, maybe in our May episode or definitely our June episode, we'll be able to share more information with you and how you can participate virtually with this year's Kutztown Folk Festival. The best blots for Pennsylvania Dutch. We'll just say that. Well, I think I've schwätzed enough, and it's time to bring in someone much prettier than I am. And that's not easy for me to say, but I'm going to say it right now. And that's the one and only Rachel Yoder. I'm going to bring her into our stream. Don't forget, people, you got to talk to us. Leave us comments. There she is, Rachel Yoder, our dear friend. Welcome to PA Dutch Live.
Oh, girls, thanks for having me, Doug. It's a pleasure. I'm so excited.
Can you believe we got people from Colorado and North Carolina and England and Germany joining us tonight? How wonderful is that?
Wonderbar. So good, so good. Thank you all so much for coming on. I'm really excited. Hey, I didn't know how many subscribers you had. I'm a little intimidated right now, Doug.
Well, thank you very much.
Good work. Yes, indeed.
I don't know.
I'll enjoy you.
Well, I appreciate that. I think some people I've paid off to create multiple accounts for one name, and maybe that's how I reach my goal.
I'm guilty. I'm guilty. I have about 6 Gmails, and we're all subscribed to you.
I love it. Keep them coming. Feel free to create a couple more Gmail accounts.
You got it, buddy.
Hey, Joanne Demansky says, "Hi, Rachel." So we got
Hey,
Rachel's got
Joanne.
fans out there too, and
Oh,
beautiful Mannheim, Germany. Natalia, however you pronounce your name, Frau Ackermann. Thank you for joining us from Mannheim. What a beautiful city. I enjoyed my time that I've spent there in Mannheim. But we're here to talk to Rachel. We're here to talk a little bit about Pennsylvania Dutch folk art and what she does. She is such a talented artist, and she produces this quality art that's out there that's not going to break your bank. That's the beauty of it. It's stuff that anyone can afford and hang in their home. But I will say a lot of this stuff could also hang in any museum in my mind.
oh, Doug.
Absolutely.
Bless your heart.
So let's talk a little bit about Pennsylvania Dutch folk art from your perspective. Of course, Rachel and I have talked a lot about this in other formats over the years. And, when you have a conversation about art, sometimes you run into people that, there's people that really like to talk about art, and then there's people that just like to look at art. And I think we have to respect both perspectives, right? So Rachel, let's just tell everybody kind of quickly a little bit about, what you do, and I can highlight your website real quick while you're talking, or
Yeah, you
anything
got
you
it,
want to
Doug.
share.
You got it. Well, let me just preface by saying I apologize. I'm not a quick talker. I talk a lot. I'll try and make it short and sweet. So basically, I am also an art teacher, and that's a framework that I always kind of work through. So my experience with Pennsylvania Dutch folk art is that I grew up sort of displaced from the actual community or the Berks County area where my family's from. So my experience of it came much later. I would have subtle experiences with it. I'd see a lot of hex signs, especially when touring in Lancaster County. We'd see the Zook stuff. And then, of course, my family did a lot of crafts and folk art, in my opinion, a lot of Scherenschnitte, a lot of quilting, a lot of sewing crafts. So those were my experiences of it. It was very subtle in the beginning. And then, of course, I went to school and I studied art in college and studied art education. And I started to develop my own personal style, which was very heavy on painting and drawing and figurative work, but also trying to find a narrative that spoke to me and also could connect with my viewer or my audience. So that's something that you try and develop as an artist in any form, whether or not you go to school for it or not. Especially if you're looking to be successful in the ways of having people enjoy your work and collect your work. So that was very important to me to have that connectedness to my audience. And really, I struggled for a really long time to find my niche. I spent a really long time just developing a style, an illustrative style. I like to call myself an illustrator because it gets you out of the realistic genre very quickly. It's a lot more free and vast in the ways that you can expand your work. So I call myself an illustrator for that reason, and I really enjoyed that freedom because I was able to develop both realistic expressions, but also kind of narrative and make them also fantastic, like mythical imagery, and being able to express myself in that way was wonderful. Plus, I had a great love for color theory. So in college, I spent a long time enjoying color theory and really diving into that. So that was kind of my background. So then I graduated school and I started teaching in Philadelphia. And along my path, I kind of stayed in touch with some of my artist friends. And then I met my husband, Hunter, who was a hex sign painter. And we just kind of got to talking. And I mentioned that it was Pennsylvania Dutch, which at the time wasn't, it was just my normal and didn't really get me anywhere in life in general. It was just kind of an anecdote to who I was. And he was really excited to hear that. And we kind of talked about where I was from and my family. And he knew the Ole Valley. He knew the Fisher homestead and all the things that I connected to on a familial level. And it was really kind of serendipitous, that meeting, and kind of changed the direction of my life, really, and my work. So we started dating, and then he kind of taught me how to paint hex signs, and it all kind of came together, and it felt very powerful. The introduction of making art that was connected to myself on a different level than just sort of like a personal narrative. So now it was also joining my heritage and my culture and things that I was disconnected from as somebody from the diaspora. So it felt really good on many levels. And then I just kind of kept going. And I found myself, since I was more of a gestural and figurative drawer and painter, I found myself kind of looking for motifs to get inspired by, and found Proctor. The Philadelphia Free Library was having a show at the time. Yes, it was 2014, and I saw their display online first, and then we went to see the show, and my world was just blown open, like a huge explosion. And I was in love with all of the work, and I couldn't get enough of it. And I just went completely down the rabbit hole and started developing that style, and really found that was, oh, now it all makes sense. This is what I've been working towards, and it felt really natural for me to develop. So that exploration started in 2014, and I'm still on the ride, and I'm still finding new motifs every day that excite me, and that I have like a huge long list of things that I'd like to develop and work with, and trying to bring old motifs that, generally speaking, and if you've never seen Proctor work, you can look it up. There's a lot of resources online, which is great. Generally, it was imagery that was along with what we call Vorschrift. I hope I'm saying that right, Doug. I have my Pennsylvania Dutch is not mixed, not so good. Vorschrift, I think, right? Am I doing that right? I think so.
Yep.
Okay. Candace Perry over the Schwenkfelder has taught me many times, and I'm still learning after all this year, all this time. But anyway, so Vorschrift was like the writing sample. So Proctor is not only artwork, it's also a style of typeface, which I went to grad school for graphic design. So that was really fun to kind of go down that rabbit hole as well. But then it was also a form of hand lettering. So the writing samples would be things that maybe schoolmasters would use, and then they would decorate it with the imagery, or maybe on birth or baptismal certificates, Proctor would be used. So generally speaking, it was usually a smaller image, and the hierarchy was it was less important than the actual words, because these are birth certificates, marriage certificates, things like that. So it was just decorative elements, kind of like thinking of like a border or such. And what I wanted to do is, because I love to work large, this is a guilty pleasure of mine, I used to make these gigantic paintings, is I like to take the imagery from those old pieces and kind of blow them up and really make that the most important part of the piece, because I thought some of the imagery was really fun to look at and very weird.
Yeah. Could we talk
Yeah,
about, like,
very
can
mysterious.
you see the piece that I'm highlighting right now, Rachel, on
Yes,
your
I
screen?
sure
So
can.
kind of
Yeah.
talking a little bit about what a lot of people do know about baptismal certificates, and that was a common way of passing on the Fraktur, and also passing on, family history, because this was before birth certificates, but most families,
Yes.
in the 1800s and so forth, were having baptismal certificates. And originally, a lot of them were printed in German, in standard German. But then eventually they made the switch to English. But like you said, you liked the motifs, and here is one. I'm kind of partial to this one myself, because this was a piece that I commissioned for you to make. But this is based on a marriage certificate. But you can see, Rachel, could you talk a little bit about like the imagery that you show here? Because you did the old-fashioned lettering, quote, we'll call it old-fashioned lettering, and the husband's name, the wife's name, and then the details of the marriage, like where the couple was married, when they were married, and that, and sometimes a small blessing, and that's it, But I love that you took all of these other motifs that are common in Pennsylvania Dutch folk art, and like you said, gave them a lot of attention instead of the words. Would you like to talk maybe a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. What I like to think of it as is, and I've talked about this before, is this gets a visual vocabulary that I've now studied, and I have a certain style with different motifs. And I always think of it as kind of building a puzzle. And so there's these different pieces and how they fit together. And there's just an infinite amount of possibilities to pair them together in different ways. But yeah, this is actually after a piece that was pretty similar, the original. And I forget where the original was from, but a person shared it on one of the Pennsylvania Dutch Facebook groups, which are incredible for inspiration. And I remember saying to her, "Oh, I love this so much." And then generally, I try and tweak it to make sure it's not, a copyright thing, or also to make sure that it has sort of my voice and my vision and my kind of style. So illustrative wise, my faces are all kind of very similar. And I really enjoyed this one particularly because I don't know why, it just, um, the face kind of reminds me of an indigenous person. And
Yeah.
I always think very deeply about that and our relationship, especially to the Lenape being from the Ole Valley. And I really, that is what visually drew me into the piece. And I liked that you enjoyed it too. And I was excited to collaborate with you. And then also, of course, the ever-present tulips slash lilies, and they can always look so different. I love that about Fractor because they call every bird a distelfinch, and they can look wildly unlike distelfinch or thistlefinches. But I like that about Fractor, that it's very, very uh, it's open to interpretation. I like that a lot. So again, you know, you can make the flowers look like anything you'd like. You can make the birds look like anything you'd like. I think it's really neat, the fantasy aspect of it, where it doesn't have to be realistic, because that's always been really attractive to me about this style of artwork. And I also really like, I personally love the Fractor pieces that are more loose, and you can see like ink splatters, and you just get a feeling for the for the speed of the process, or like just the inhibition. You know, they weren't concerned as much. It was just a lot of fun, and it was very free, and I like that feeling of Fractor work. It's not always like that, but that's the style that I really enjoy.
Is I like what you were talking about with kind of like not breaking the rules, so to speak, because I don't think there really are any rules, you know.
Oh
But
well.
yeah. Hey, it's my
Depends who you
show.
ask,
It's
honey.
my show, and I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say. But you sent me a couple pictures today that I wanted to kind of highlight, or a couple pieces of art, I should say. And here's one where I think kind of talks about that. You take, you know, you're melding, to me, when I look at this, I'm saying, okay, well, there's definitely hex sign qualities to it,
Yeah.
or Barnstar quality to it. But then also you're, you know, adding this face motif. And that
Hmm.
was, you know, what made you, if you remember, like when you did this, was that just something you're like, well, I like the star aspect and the sun aspect, but I'm going to make it a bunch of faces, or was this something you had seen in another piece somewhere before?
Yeah, well, funny enough, that's the first Fractor piece that I've ever really seen that I notated, oh, when I was purposefully looking for it. And it was a piece that they had at the Philadelphia Free Library. And come to find out with my research, it's actually been recreated in many different places, and it's in a bunch of collections. I have it on my phone. It's really small, but the actual piece, you probably can't see this. Well, oh, it's not too bad. I found this on Pinterest, and then we went to the Free Library and saw it. And of course, online it scans, so it's like this huge image. But then you go in and you see it, and it's like this small little what would they call it? A book plate. And I just completely fell in love with this motif. I can't even explain why, but I just, something about it being a flower with faces, because I'm a person that kind of believes in plant spirits and all of this hippy dippy do stuff. So it was just a really, really spoke to me, and I like how they're kind of looking at you and they're not real friendly. I don't know. So it's just actually my absolute favorite motif. So I've just done it a bunch of times in different styles, but I actually asked Candace Perry again. She's a curator of collections over at Schweinfelder. Hey, Candace. She's been such a great mentor for me. She's infinite patience with my crazy, wild, artistic stuff when I go in there, blah, 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 blah. And she's so, so well versed in all of these motifs. And she actually said to me one time that I could think of it, that she felt like it was sort of like how you'd imagine sugar skulls in Mexican folk art, as
Hmm.
like a remembrance of people that have passed. And when she told me that, I was like, I
Yeah.
just, it meant so much to me, because I love Sugar Skulls. Frida Kahlo is my favorite artist. And the idea of a remembrance, and we are of the earth, or you probably have the Bible verses better than I do, but the idea that we go back into the ground, and then we're reborn in another form or something. It just all made a lot of sense to me, and I really fell more in love with it. So that's kind of the story behind it. And of course, I'm always trying to make Fractor imagery work in hexane form for many reasons, just like all of the greats. Ivan Hoyt uses a lot of Fractor motifs as well. Johnny Ott, of course, and my
Yeah.
husband, of course. All of us kind of borrow from that. But I've always been more drawn to the more gestural motifs, and less with the geometric, but I do like to include it sometimes. And as you can see in the original, it's not very technical, but it's there. in the middle. So yeah, you
Uh-huh.
can kind of see that. So yeah, that's the story behind that. I just like they're so strange.
Yeah, but strange in a good way. Strange in a good way. People
Sure,
that are
sure.
watching, please join. Do you guys have any questions for
Please.
Rachel? Just pop them in the chat as we're going on. Otherwise, we're just going to kind of scroll through a couple pieces of hers. This is another one I wanted to highlight. House blessings are a common form of art in the Pennsylvania
Mm,
Dutch in our tradition. And Rachel does house blessings. Here's one with a lot of our typical Pennsylvania Dutch motifs with birds and flowers and of course hearts. Hearts also play a major role in Pennsylvania Dutch folk art. I love everything about this piece. The colors, of course, the message is simple. Bless this house, segnet this
mm-hmm.
house. You don't need anything more than that in my mind. And then we
Right.
have all the other motifs that are going on there in that piece. That's just a beautiful piece. And all of
Thank you
this
so much.
stuff you can buy, people. You can order from Rachel.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. That's right.
Yeah. Let me.
Let me just, Doug,
Oh,
real
go ahead,
quick,
Rachel. I'm sorry.
let me just say, no, it's okay. And I want to thank you so much because, of course, you gave me the translation, and it's tricky as a non-speaker to get the proper translation for more than one word or even for one word. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. All these
Oh,
years giving me so much time and grace in helping me out. So I really appreciate it. And I
my
know
pleasure.
a guy that's really big time with the language mentioned that this was a very good choice in how to encompass that idea. So well done, Doug.
Oh, thank you. Surprisingly, this is one that always surprises, I think, a lot of people that aren't familiar with Pennsylvania Dutch art. But another motif that we find in our art is our mermaids,
Yeah,
Wassernixe in Pennsylvania Dutch.
yeah.
Did you find that odd when you came across it too, or
Oh
because
yeah,
you incorporate mermaids a lot in your art, and I mean,
I
like you
do.
said, or like I said, it's not. Rachel didn't come up with this on her own. This is something that's from you find in our art. Like say anything about mermaids, because there's not too many mermaids in the Schuylkill River there in Southeast PA, but or the Delaware, but
You're just
they're in
looking with the
they're in
wrong
our
eye,
hit.
Doug.
You
You're
might
looking with
be
these eyes. You
right.
got to look with this eye, honey.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, I always have a
I'm
hat
just
on. Maybe that's my
joking.
problem.
Oh, Doug. Oh, goodness. Yes, it's a big surprise to a lot of people when they come up to me and say to me, especially, I'll get this a lot at the Folk Fest, like, this isn't Pennsylvania Dutch folk art. What are you doing? These mermaids aren't. And I'll have to go in and, hey, here's the Pinterest. Let me show you the receipts I got. But I'll tell you what, this is my favorite book. We discovered Frances Licton. I love her. She is a scholar and also she started as an artist, which I really appreciate because you look at things differently when you have the visual artist way of breaking down pieces and stuff. But yeah, here's the mermaid. Here it is. And this book was from, oh gosh, I don't know. Let me tell you. But you find it on blanket chests a lot. Sometimes on the top shines. 1954. So noted. Very strange, grotesque, as she calls it. And then, this is a little more along the lines of mine. But this piece actually I found as well on Pinterest. I have to be honest. And it was going. The original was going on Pook and Pook for I think like a redonkulous amount of money. I can't even quote it, but it was thousands and hundreds of thousands
Yeah.
of dollars, I think. And I was I've always loved mermaids, because I'm born in 1981, so I was around for the Little Mermaid, and of course, it was always something that I think a lot of people can relate to, feeling really drawn to the imagery and also the fantasy of it. So I was excited to see it in Pennsylvania Dutch art,
Yeah.
and again, I said to Candace, "What's going on with this?" And she kind of thought, and I've asked a bunch of other people too, that it was maybe just something that Germans were into, and so we kind of brought it into our artwork too, and for many different reasons. They have Lorelei in Germany, and also
I was
the
just going to
missile.
say that we have Tom Mott just had a
Yeah,
comment saying maybe those are Rhine maidens, and that could very
yeah,
well, I don't know for sure, but could
yep.
very easily have brought that with,
I
when
think
we came
so.
across.
I
Absolutely.
think so.
Um,
And you know who else? Mezzaline.
oh, right. Right.
Yeah, and she's in some churches in Germany. It's amazing. My friend Patrick Feltz over there in Germany. He showed me some of the amazing stuff in the churches. I mean, it's on the exterior of some of the churches. The
Yep.
mermaid. It's wild stuff.
Yep. Brigitte says, I love how Rachel treats Pennsylvania Dutch folk art as a living, evolving art form and not
Oh,
something dead. And that you are 100% correct. And art never is dead, in my opinion. Even when you look at the
never.
older stuff, to me, it's still alive.
Oh,
But
yeah.
that has always been one of the reasons that I gravitate personally towards Rachel's work too, is that she's using these motifs that, yeah, they're hundreds of years old. And maybe in some cases, like maybe the mermaid motif, maybe 1,000 years old in Germanic, in
Mm-hmm.
Germanic art, but it's still, we're bringing it alive. So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's wonderful that you're doing that, Rachel. And it's nice to see that other people feel that way too.
Oh, it is so nice. Thanks, Brigitte. Hey, listen, I miss you guys so much. We usually do a ton of vending shows, and I always tell people,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
that's where I get to have this interaction and see how people enjoy it and what they want to see next. And it's been a tough year. I miss all of you so much and seeing people. So thanks so much for popping on and saying that. I appreciate it. And I do think, especially with folk art and folk life, and any kind of folk culture, it has to evolve and it has to be
Yeah.
living and it has to be with a contemporary lens, because that's what it is alive, because we're all alive in this time. So why stay back there when we can be up here, and then people in the future will see our stuff and be excited by it and inspired.
Absolutely. My friend Holly from England wants to know, Rachel, aside from the faces, do you have any other favorite motifs? Personal favorite
Oh,
motifs?
Holly, thank you. Geez, that's tough. That's a toss up between my mermaids, the Wassernicks, and my Der Belschnickel, because he's my special fella. So
Let me
thanks for asking, Holly. Yeah,
Holly,
there's
there
my guy.
there is the Belsnickel, which most of you, of course, if you're familiar with my channel, have seen me do multiple videos in regards to the Belsnickel culture
Oh,
and our
yeah.
part of our history. So Rachel does Belsnickel. We call him a doll. I guess we could call it a doll.
Sure.
And I have one on my mantle that's always looking year round, watching the Maidenford
Oh,
household.
yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
but they're wonderful. So I mean, you can find them on her website. But here is what one of them looks like. They're all handmade, and they have the fur and everything, with the switches and the bag of goodies. And but that is, Rachel does a great. I love that piece. It's one of my absolute
Oh, thank
favorites.
you. Yeah, I always
Uh,
tell people, we don't need Elf on a Shelf. We need Belschnickel on a shelf.
That's right. We
'Cause
just
we
need
need
something
some.
to rhyme with schnickel, so we can make it like Bell Schnickel on a nickel or something. I don't know. We'll have to work on that. Uh, Holly says, thanks for showing, because the Belsnickel is wonderful. You represent his character brilliantly. I
Oh,
agree,
goodness.
Holly.
Thank
I
you,
absolutely
Holly.
agree. And Carol is letting us know, and this is true. I know this to be true as well. Rachel is so willing to work with you in developing a piece that speaks just to you. For example, we
Yes.
showed the marriage certificate. I said to Rachel, here's our information. I did the translation into Pennsylvania Dutch, and then she lettered it and did all the art. So those are opportunities as well, that you can have Rachel do a custom piece for you. So definitely, feel free. I'll have Rachel's contact information in the notes down below, in the show notes, that you can get a hold of her, and I'll have a link to her website as well, so you can interact with Rachel after the show is over for sure.
Yeah,
There were a
thanks,
couple other
Carol. Hey,
pieces.
Carol. Thanks for
I
pointing that out, Carol. That's true. And I actually really enjoy doing custom work too. I love when people come to me. I've only had to say no, I think twice. Just ethically, I wasn't interested in working with the person. But yeah, I love doing custom work.
Awesome. One other piece that Rachel sent me that I definitely want to highlight is taking, again, an image that, if you're familiar with, is the Pennsylvania Dutch were the first to bring and characterize the idea of the Easter Bunny in North
Yes.
America. We talked about that in our last month's episode with Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a very famous drawing by, I believe his last name was Gilbert, or something like that. Oh, I should know that off the
I
top of my
think
head, but
so.
I think it's Gilbert. And you took that image and created this image out of it, which I think is, and this is almost something you could hang on a Christmas tree, really, if you wanted to, or on an Easter
Yeah.
egg tree or whatever. I just think it's a really pretty piece, because it has
Thank you.
it has the simplicity of that 18th century, 19th century folk art, but it's so vibrant and bright, and it doesn't look, to me, it doesn't look, we talk about it being living art. It doesn't look to me to be old fashioned, but yet
Mm-hmm.
it has a little bit of that characteristic with it, which is, I think is great. I just really think is awesome, Rachel. Another
Thank
animal, of
you.
course, the Pennsylvania Dutch. We have a very strong connection with the earth, and we have to talk about this guy too. Of course, we're all familiar with the story of the groundhog. In February's episode with Bill Donner, we talked about Groundhog Day, and another image that Rachel works with a lot in a motif is our beloved Grunza, the groundhog.
Mhm.
Could you talk a little bit about this piece, Rachel?
Well, it's so funny, Doug, because this is why I love doing custom work. Because here's the thing: what I think I should be working on and what other people want to see are sometimes very different. And I think that's a very important notation about the difference between fine art and folk art. Because the way I see it, and what has helped inform this, the way I'm going to describe it is being also a graphic designer, because you're working for your customer and what their vision is. And with folk art, I think we come together and share a vision together. But it's funny because I would have never thought I would be painting birds and groundhogs and bunnies. Well, yeah, bunnies definitely. But somebody came to me and asked me to do a grunstall for them, and I said, sure, why not? Let's do it. And that's kind of how it happened. One of my customers came to me and asked me for it for Groundhog Day, and I kind of fell in love with the motif, and it really took off. I mean, I would have never guessed in a million years, Doug. I have sold so many Gruncells. It's really incredible. I would
That's
have
awesome.
never guessed that. So thankfully for that custom piece, it took off. So you just never know. And it's something that I fell in love with. I love animals so much. And I know Grunstall and groundhogs can be really tricky animals, especially if you're a gardener. But I'll have people come up to me and say, oh, I love this piece, but I hate groundhogs.
Yeah.
It's like you get a mixed review. But someone actually, I think, purchased one to kind of like ward them off or something, and that's hey, that's up to you. Whatever you want to use it for is your business. But yeah, I just love this piece, and I liked that it felt very earthy too, and having the
It,
bee in there and
yeah.
the different tulips and stuff. And I love bleeding hearts, the flowers, so I threw those
Mm.
in there too, and it was really fun. But I love
Yeah.
working with different textures and stuff too. So another thing that you kind of were talking about too that's a little different about my work is that Proctor was usually done on paper, and I do mine a lot of times on canvas or wood. And I like that because I'm terrified of the permanence of watercolor on paper, although I know
Mm.
there's ways to get around that. But I enjoy working on canvas because it gives me a lot more freedom to kind of make mistakes and take those risks that I feel like are inherent in this type of artwork. So a lot of my stuff is done on canvas as well, which makes it easier for if you purchase it to just hang it right up on the wall as well. Which I kind of love. And I like to work a lot on reclaimed wood too. But yeah, the Grunstall is very special to me. I love him. And I actually did a series of 4 for each season. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. We talked about some of these other motifs, and we're just Rachel just talked about working on canvas and so forth, but she has done more than that. And I would like to highlight this piece because this piece to me is the one that when I talk about what should be in a museum, is
Oh,
this
bless
piece.
you.
This piece is unbelievable. Could you talk to our viewers a little bit about what is it? So we see a dress, but it's much more than a dress.
Yeah, so the actual piece is actually not the dress. That's just kind of the background. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. It's actually an apron that is a Scherenschnitte made out of actually canvas. This is so complex. I did this piece, oh my gosh, I think it was 2008, 16, no, 15, something like that. For my graduate studies, I was going for communication design at Kutztown University. Yay, Kutztown. And my professor, Karen Kreslicki, big shout out to Karen and Professor Maloney. Also very encouraging of me kind of in developing this Pennsylvania Dutch style within the graphic design work that I was doing. And this was a class called Unconventional Typography, which I thought is just perfect for me because I had no idea what I was doing with typography. And we came up with this idea, and I wanted to have like sort of a huge like piece that was kind of a statement. And I don't really know how it developed. I wanted to do something with Scherenschnitte and also make it so that light can show through and the shadow play and stuff like that. And I ended up printing it out like I did the type lockup. It's called, where you like fit the letters in and everything, and you like manipulate them to make them work nicely together. And oh, I forgot to mention, Doug gave me an amazing translation. Thank you, Doug. It's supposed to be my great grandmother Verna Fisher speaking to me in the present and what she would say to me. So, and it was going to be a series, which it may someday be, of my great grandmother Verna and then my grandmother Olive speaking in an apron form in more of a style from her era the 50s, and then my mother, Diane, and then myself. So that was kind of the idea, and possibly my daughters. I think that was the original idea, and just having the different voices of how we feel about our heritage and culture. So that's what it was about. And it was really fun to do. And I love Scherenschnitte, and my mom is a big Scherenschnitte person. And it's neat because as it aged, because it's canvas, it kind of curled and kind of morphed a bit. And I love that about typography, and I love that about Proctor, because if you look at the old pieces, sometimes they will have sort of like age marks and stuff. And that's all the stuff I like, grit, and I like that kind of aesthetic. So that was a really cool piece. And this was actually the Kime homestead, which my husband is related to the Kime homestead folks. And that's an incredible place if you ever get to visit, a really incredible space and place in Berks County. So yeah, and I got the dress, and I just felt like it fit nicely because it was that era from when Verna was a young lady. So it was a really special piece to me. I don't know if you can read it, but if you want to read any of it, it kind of talks about her enjoying that I'm trying to preserve our culture and teaching the children to hold on to it as well.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece, just an absolutely beautiful piece. I just had a comment that you can answer. Rumor has it that Rachel is a Schwenkfelder. Is that true?
Oh my gosh, I'm getting heckled.
We've been talking about the Schwenkfelders a lot tonight.
Yeah, thanks so much, Hunter. I did want to mention that tonight. It's very exciting to me because, actually, the one you just went on, that was a piece for the Schwenkfelder that I was hand tinting. So I've loved the Schwenkfelder since we moved here. I've been really involved over there, just, using it as an amazing resource in our area. They have a wealth of knowledge there, incredible staff, and a facility that they have an amazing library, an amazing collection. And of course, Candace is now a dear friend and mentor, and she's helped me along my way so much. And I recently found out on Ancestry.com that I go back to a Schwenkfelder who is Maria Kraus, and she's my 7th great grandmother. So I'm a little way back there, but off of my great grandfather Daniel Fisher's side, I go back to Maria Kraus. And
Awesome.
that was a really exciting moment for me because I'm a big fan.
That would be. So let's just round out our conversation tonight with this shot, which is of your studio. And you and I talked about this before, but one thing you had said to me was when you make art, it has a spiritual aspect to it, and you referred to your studio as an altar.
Yeah.
And that really, as someone that grew up in the church, that is something that really spoke to me. So could you kind of just say a couple things maybe about what you mean by that?
Yeah, I'll try and make it a little shorter, but yeah, no, absolutely. It's funny because as a kid and always, I've just been a collector of things and things that hold value to me and represent something to me, even if it's something that's, an innate object. So I've always kind of had like sort of altars, not even realizing it, but this space is really special to me because it's in my attic and it's kind of a nice quiet spot, and it's also very narrow, and I have like sensory things, so I like to be like squeezed into little spaces. It just feels really cozy. But as far as the altar goes, I hang up things that inspire me. You can see on the left-hand side is a lot of my children's artwork. I have a piece that my husband did over there. I also have some pictures on the wall. And then on the right-hand side is sort of more the more recent work. And like I'll do live shows up there, and it'll be stuff that I've been working on recently. But especially, it's kind of cut off, but there's a piece there that's a rosette, which is actually my favorite hex sign motif. And it says Ahald, which is it Ahald or Ahalda?
Ahalda.
Ahalda.
Yeah.
I'm so bad at it, but it means to hold on to, right? Yeah.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was the most powerful word in the Scherenschnitte piece for me. And then, of course, what I'm working on there is an actual hand-tinted piece for the Schwenkfelder Library and Museum that Candace commissioned me to work on. It was a photograph that was blown up onto a canvas, and then I got to hand paint it. Really cool, of a schoolmaster and a one-room schoolhouse. And I also found out in all of my local regional research that my, I guess, great-great-grandfather, Peter Knabb, was a schoolmaster in a home where Elaine Vargin lives now. Stop it. It was really cool, and she let me come in and check it out. It's really neat. So that was a really fun piece to work on. And then you'll kind of see, like, it looks very cluttered and messy, but right behind the hex sign, right in the middle, behind there's a Johnny Ott piece. He was a very incredible hex sign painter and also ran the Deutsche Eck. if you look him up, you can also go to the Dijak and see some of his original work on the walls. He inspired a lot of people, including Ivan Hoyt, who don't tell my husband is my favorite Hextime painter, Ivan. But I have Johnny Ott's piece back there, and it means a lot to me because even though it's I was gifted it by a man named Mervyn, and he was really embarrassed that it was kind of broken and like beaten up. And I said, but no, that it has like a spirit to it. And Johnny Ott touched it. And I'm very, very, very Pennsylvania Dutch superstitious about things like that. It's a very superstitious kind of thing. And I just felt, having him there with me was very powerful for me. He really inspires me. And that's how I sort of think of things. And I think I've mentioned a million times to people that I always feel the ancestors' presence when I get into the work and really get myself focused and open, and I can feel their presence. And it's never a scary feeling for me. It's always a very, very good feeling, like how you'd feel. For example, I've in the past felt the Holy Spirit before in church, and it's like kind of getting struck by lightning sometimes. But this is a much softer feeling for me, and it feels really, really great. And I kind of treat it like it's a worship. So we're pretty dedicated, my husband and I. We try and paint almost every day. I usually take the weekends off to kind of focus on the kids, but it is very important to me as a human to have that time and have that practice and honor the ancestors in that way, because I feel so connected to them during that time. So thanks for bringing that up, Doug. It's really neat.
Sure, absolutely. The one thing here before we well, that isn't what I want. Hold on one second. There, I'm going to go all the way to the top. As we kind of wrap up our conversation with Rachel here tonight, I definitely want to highlight her website. And again, I'll have the link down below, but it is Rachel Yoder Art. .net and on her website, this is what the main page looks like. You can click on all of these images and see larger image. It blows them up for you a little bit. And then, of course, if you feel so moved, that's your opportunity then to get the credit card out and make a purchase with Miss Yoder, which we hope you all do. This year has been really rough for artists, of course, with all of the festivals that were canceled in 2020, and sadly, a lot of festivals are canceled this year too. We have to support these guys so that they can continue to making art. We don't want to see these traditions and this work fizzle out for sure. So Rachel, again, I'll put a link to your website in the show notes for anybody that's interested. And of course, she has a very strong presence on social media. You can find Rachel on Instagram. You can find her on Facebook, and very active and always posting top-notch quality content for all of you to enjoy and learn more about Pennsylvania Dutch folk art. And she's always up to date on when she'll be, if there is an event out there, if she'll be there and vending and so forth and so on. Rachel, it is always, I honestly say, when I say this, and I don't mean it flippantly at all, but it is always a joy getting to talk to you. You fill me with a lot of energy whenever I talk to you, and that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed
Doug.
Oh, thank you. I don't see any other questions here in the chat bar. But again, you can reach out to Rachel and contact her yourself if you have any questions, or you'd like to purchase something, or talk to her about commissioning a piece or something along those lines. And we're hoping that we will have some live events in the future where we'll be able to meet Rachel face to face. And I don't know about shake her hand, but if COVID allows us, we'll shake hands or hug. I know Rachel's a hug person, so
I'm a hugger.
Yes, Rachel, thanks so much for coming on PA Dutch Live. And I'm sure somewhere down the road, we'll have a chance to bring you back on again and highlight your next big project that you're going to be working on.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Doug, for everything. You're a wonderful support and a good friend. Thank you so much, cousin.
Yeah, we are somehow. We just have to figure out what number it is, but we're something.
Yeah, we got to figure
it out.
Yeah, for sure.
we share common ancestors. Although I'm not a Schwenkfelder. I'm not a Schwenkfelder. I don't think I'm a Schwenkfelder. I'm gonna have to do a little research to find out for sure.
I'll have to do some digging for you. We'll have to link up on Ancestry.com and figure out where we're related. So
there you go.
I think Carol figured it out for us, actually. So
yeah, because we're related to her too. So it's just one big happy family.
It is. It really is. And we love everybody, and everybody's welcome at our table.
That is absolutely true. Absolutely true. Rachel, thanks so much, and we'll be in touch in the very near future.
Mach's gut, Doug.
Mach's gut. How do you beat something like that, people? She's upbeat, she's talented, she brings all of this energy, and on top of it, the stuff she's making will bring a smile to your face if it's hanging on your wall in your home, or what a wonderful gift for someone come birthday time, anniversary time, Christmas time, or whatever holiday you might celebrate. So please, please support Rachel and her work. Check out her website. You will not be disappointed. Well, it's come to that time of the episode where we like to highlight our language a little bit, Pennsylvania Dutch, the language that we love so much. Every week I bring a poem, and this month, is no different. Let me share my screen and see if I can. Hold on one second, everybody. I got so many tabs on here. This is crazy. Absolutely crazy. Let me just scroll that up a little bit. I'm hoping everyone can read that. So our poem this month comes from a very famous Pennsylvania Dutch poet, Edwin Gaiman Weber, who wrote a collection of poetry called Waterboy Gedichte. I don't believe it is available anymore currently in print. You might be able to find used copies of it maybe on eBay or something like that, but it was through Mastove Press a couple years ago. Dick Beam in Millersville was instrumental in putting this collection of his poems, and it is wonderful stuff. And I wanted to share his poem called April, which in Pennsylvania Dutch is the word for April. So here is his poem called April. The Pennsylvania Dutch is on the left, of course, and the English translation is on the right. And I'm just going to read the Pennsylvania Dutch for you so you can hear it and interact. April von Edwin Gaiman Weber. Der Winter ist vorbei, daheim auf der Altbauerei. Es Frühjahr ist nah do, die Zaarschlipper und Amschle sind froh. Der 15. April pfeift der Whippoorwill. Wir bleiben daheim von der Schule, müssen schaffen wie ein Fool. Stehlese, mischt vor, blue, gar kein Zeit für Ruhe. Für Habersäer ist es Hochzeit, net abschieben, was du kannst heit. No is Fensweisel und Gorder rummache und Arabse Blanze und so Sache. Wie Zwiebeln und Spinat und Rettich und Gordetsalat. Allemaria bist du wacker free, wann der Horne great sei Gigerigi. Und die Guineas und Gäns und die Sei sind am Bettler, vergefiedert sei. Sieht die Hosse an und geht dazu naus. Brauchst kein Schuh im Haus oder draus. Auf der Bauerei braucht niemand Schuh. Net der Hund, net Sau, net die Kuh. Wann du Schuh haben musst, bist in Steil, so wie die stolze Geil. Ihr kept über alles draus, wann so sein muss, dann macht's nix aus. April ist eine schöne Zeit, mit Rera und Sonnenschein da drin. Die Osterblume und Dulleborne bliehe, die Erde dreht von Brau zu Grie. So a very nice poem from Edwin Gaiman Weber from his collection called Waterboy Gedichte. If you can find it online, get yourself a copy. It is a great piece. And all of the poems in that book are in the Pennsylvania Dutch and then also translated into English. We got hi from your old Heimat, Sankt Wendel, Saarland. Yes, I have some relatives way back from Saarland. That's part of Germany, for those of you that aren't familiar, right next to Rhineland-Pfalz. So greetings. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Every month, I also bring you a quick piece of Pennsylvania Dutch music. This month will be no different. Allow me to, again, share my screen and pick up the right one here. This month, I was thinking about, well, do I want to do a spring song? A spring song would be good, but what in the world am I going to find that's spring-related? And I kind of looked through my library and I didn't really like anything that I was finding. And then I thought, you know what? Here's a song that everybody knows the melody to. And this is just the Pennsylvania Dutch version of Sie kommt rum de Barek, which is She's Coming Round the Mountain. Now think back to your childhood when you learned that song in English, of course. She's coming around the mountain when she comes. You know the song. Well, now you're going to hear it in Pennsylvania Dutch, which I think it's even better in Pennsylvania Dutch than it is in English. But I'm a little partial. I got my trusty Deering banjo here, and I'm going to sing this song for you. You can follow along. It is in the key of G, so for all you string players out there, that's a key that's really easy to play in. So here's a song for you called Sie kommt rum de Barek. She's coming around the mountain in Pennsylvania Dutch. Oh, sie kommt rum de Barek, wann sie kommt. Oh, sie kommt rum de Barek, wann sie kommt. Oh, sie kommt rum, de Barik, no wat sie mag sparig. Oh, sie kommt rum, de Barik, wann sie kommt. Oh, sie treibt Sex weiß geil, wann sie kommt. Oh, sie treibt Sex weiß geil, wann sie kommt. Oh, sie treibt Sex weiß geil, sell is jo nimmi steil. Oh, sie treibt Sex weiß geil, wann sie kommt. Oh, mir gehen aus die Szene, wann sie kommt. Oh, mir gehen aus die Szene, wann sie kommt. Ja, mir gehen aus die Szene, mir wissen, sie ist in Schäne. Na, mir gehen aus die Szene, wann sie kommt. Mir auch hen hink und knapp, wann sie kommt. Mir auch hen hink und knapp, wann sie kommt. Ja, mir hen hink und knapp, no warme, dick und fett. Oh, mir hen hink und knapp, wann sie kommt. Well, there's a fun little song that you could sing with your children or grandchildren or what the heck, just by yourself. Why not? It's fun. She's coming around the mountain, but in Pennsylvania Dutch, she's coming around the mountain. My goodness. Well, people, I think it is that time. We have made it to the end of another episode of your Pennsylvania Dutch Minute. Thanks so much for joining us live. If you missed the live episode, of course, this will be archived on my YouTube channel. You can sit back and watch it again tomorrow or anytime. Please share the link with your friends. Tell them what we are doing here on the channel, how we are supporting Pennsylvania Dutch language and culture and history, and we're having interesting guests like Rachel Yoder tonight and Patrick Dunmoyer and Dr. Bill Donner, and I have a lineup of people coming up here through the rest of spring and into the summer that I just can't wait to tell you guys about, but I'm gonna keep it a secret until closer to the time. But I am in the process of planning our May episode, and as soon as I have a date set and a time, I will let everybody know here on the YouTube channel. Please don't forget some upcoming events that you can check out. We have the Pennsylvania Dutch Church service in Lebanon on the 16th. We have the Schwenkfelder event on May 1st, and we have the Kutztown Historical Society's get together with kind of like a rummage sale and good time fun on the 22nd of May. I will post all that information on my YouTube channel and also on my Facebook account as well. Please feel free to support the channel and all that we do here. You can buy me a coffee. That link is also down below in the show notes. And every dollar that you guys donate goes to the upkeep of the channel, new equipment, better makeup for me, things like that, of course. People, it has been an absolute joy with all of you joining us tonight. I love interacting with all of you. Thanks for the great comments and the great questions. I know that Rachel had a good time. I had a good time. And we'll be back before you know it later in the month of May. Keep checking the YouTube channel for Pennsylvania Dutch Words of the Week. That'll be coming out here on Friday. A new word every Friday. And our popular series, Ask a Pennsylvania Dutchman. We'll have a brand new episode of Chris and I telling you just what we think on the first Sunday in May. So watch for those. And again, people, check out what we're doing here. Support our artists. Check out Rachel Yoder's website. And gosh darn it, buy something from her website. You will not be sorry. Until next month, I'm going to see, gonna have some fun stuff in May. I got a really great guest lined up, and I can't wait to bring him and his story to all of you in the month of May. But till then, please take care of yourselves. Practice your Pennsylvania Dutch. Don't be afraid to make mistakes when you're doing that, because that's how you're going to get better. And be proud of being Pennsylvania Dutch. Tell people our story. Share it with them. Share the PA Dutch love. Till next month, take care, everyone, and Max gut. Zettel für de lange Weg, 2 Flaschen Whisky für die Zeit, und ich date gern habe, du bist dabei. Maria geht, fahrt mal weg, ist weit, wann ich geh, ich werde die Fehler, wann ich geh. Du sehst nimmer, was ich mach, du sehst nimmer, wie ich lach. Ich werd dir fehlen, du watsch sehen. Hab kriegt mein Zettel für den langen Weg. Du scheinst da, als mir finden kann. Es hat Mario und Dale ganz wunderbar. Als ich dir den weiße dann, wann ich geh, wann ich geh. Ich werd dir fehlen, wann ich geh. Du sehst nimmer, was ich mach, du sehst nimmer, wie ich lach. Ich werd dir fehlen, du watsch sehen.